Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into the global economic landscape of 2025, a year critically shaped by international trade agreements and the significant impact of tariffs. We're seeing geopolitical tensions, protectionist policies, and strategic economic rivalries dramatically reordering global trade. A key trend for 2025 is a notable increase in protectionism. New tariffs and trade barriers are on the rise. For instance, the United States has implemented substantial tariff hikes, including a baseline 10% tariff on all trading partners, with even steeper rates for nations like China, Japan, and the EU. Naturally, this has led to retaliatory measures. China, for example, has hit back with its own significant tariffs on U.S. imports. The result is a more fragmented and uncertain global trading environment. These geopolitical factors are also heavily influencing trade alignments. Countries are actively reconfiguring their trade relationships, often prioritizing geopolitical alliances over pure economic efficiency. We're observing the U.S. diverting some trade from China towards countries like Mexico and Vietnam. European economies are similarly reducing trade with Russia while boosting ties with partners such as the U.S. Interestingly, some middle power nations, including India and Brazil, are seizing the opportunity to expand their trade networks across the geopolitical spectrum. Unsurprisingly, this rise in tariffs and trade policy uncertainty is causing a downward revision of global economic growth forecasts for 2025. Major organizations like J.P. Morgan, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization have all lowered their projections for global GDP and trade volume growth. J.P. Morgan, for example, has adjusted its 2025 U.S. real GDP growth estimate down to 1.6%. And even 1.3% after recent auto tariff announcements. China's growth is projected at 4.4%. The IMF has reduced its global growth forecast for 2025 to 2.8% and global trade growth to just 1.7%. Some analysts even warn that a full-blown global trade war could severely impact global GDP. Tariffs are also expected to fuel inflationary pressures in 2025. Higher import costs generally translate to increased consumer prices. J.P. Morgan forecasts U.S. PCE price inflation to climb to 2.7%, with core PCE inflation reaching 3.1% due to these tariffs. One analysis estimates that the implemented tariffs in 2025 could lead to a 2.3% rise in the price level in the short term, potentially costing the average U.S. household around $3,800. Certain sectors are feeling the pinch more than others. The automotive, steel, aluminum, and manufacturing industries are frequently highlighted. Developing countries might also face higher duties on their agricultural exports and in sectors like textiles and apparel, which limits their market access and competitiveness. Furthermore, tariff escalation, where finished goods face higher tariffs than raw materials, can hinder industrialization in these developing economies. In response, businesses are being forced to rethink and reconfigure their supply chains. This involves diversifying where they source materials, exploring connector economies, emerging markets with beneficial trade agreements, and investing in technology for better supply chain visibility. The focus is clearly shifting from just efficiency to mitigating risk and building resilience. These connector economies, nations like Mexico, Vietnam, India, Brazil, and several Southeast Asian countries, are playing an increasingly vital role. They are acting as intermediaries in trade flows between major economic blocs or are directly benefiting from shifts in sourcing strategies as companies look for alternatives. Overall, the economic environment in 2025 is marked by heightened uncertainty regarding future trade policies. This uncertainty itself acts as a drag on economic activity, dampening business investment and consumer sentiment. Governments are responding with various strategies, including industrial policies and subsidies to support domestic industries and achieve strategic goals. There are also growing calls to strengthen multilateral cooperation and reform institutions like the World Trade Organization to better address current challenges, including its dispute resolution mechanisms and rules for setting tariffs. Some temporary tariff suspensions on certain products have been implemented to alleviate costs for businesses. In summary, 2025 is shaping up to be a pivotal year. Geoeconomic forces are actively reshaping international trade. While tariffs are often intended to protect domestic industries and address trade imbalances, they are undeniably contributing to slower global growth, higher inflation, and increased economic uncertainty. This complex environment is forcing businesses and policymakers worldwide to adapt to a rapidly evolving global landscape.